Greetings, programs. NeoMegaMan back again for part 2 of Let's Play Katawa Shoujo Ren's Path. Yeah, I sort of dropped the name there at the end of the last episode. I actually kind of didn't mean to. I must be tired. Anyway, so before we go any further, viewers, I kid you not, the name of this scene is Invisible Hat. I don't even. But, okay. If you say so, game. I wake up and take a hot shower. Back in my room, the first thing I see is the familiar row of medication bottles lined up on top of my dresser, and it makes me depressed as usual. It's annoying. I thought I was okay. I thought I'd made peace with this thing, gotten over it. But what I really did was I allowed myself to forget that I have a problem. Being here really reminds me of the reality, and trying to fight against it just hurts. Reflecting on it is only going to do so much. I've done this before, for months. It seems like it's time to get over it. If I allow myself to forget that my life is definitely not going to be as long as those of others, I won't get anywhere. My life may be different from others, but it's a life in progress. That's how I'll rationalize it. I down the usual handful of pills, trying to push the sudden dreary feeling out of my head. Then I prepare to head out to class early, as usual. As I step into the hallway, I notice Kenji coming around the hallway corner, stealthily making his way over to his own room with a large bag. As he sneaks past me soundlessly like a ninja hiding in plain sight, I call out to him. Hey. He jumps at the sound of my voice. Oh, hey, man. Didn't notice you there. I'm really tired. I think it's more like he didn't see me, but that's not the issue. Where have you been this early? Shopping? I wasn't shopping. Sometimes I have to visit the math teacher. Yeah. I figured it'd be a good idea to find out when the next exam is. Says he tells you in advance if you want. So then what's in the bag? I thought I'd go shopping while I was outside. I'll need supplies to continue the fight against the vast feminist conspiracy. Oh, this again. I thought you didn't go outside. I wear a hat now. I decide not to point out he's not wearing a hat. The awkward silence settles between us, and then Kenji breaks it by pushing his door open slowly, releasing a creaking sound into the air that only makes the moment seem more awkward. He sets his bag down inside his room and then closes the door. I'm surprised you went out of your way to try to find out a test date. Try to take advantage of an opportunity to study is pretty diligent. I never study. Oh. I just want to know when the next test day was. I'm still going to take it, I need to know so I can know what day I can't afford to skip class. He usually sends out updates on that crap by phone, so I had to step out and check up on it. And why do you have to go out when you can get it on your phone? I don't carry a phone. What do you mean you don't carry a phone? You mean you just leave it at home? Nah, I don't use phones. I don't have a phone. Phones. I have no phone. Why don't you have a phone? How can you not have a phone? No phone at all? No phone? I just don't like phones. Actually, I'm kind of scared of them. I don't know why. I think there's some kind of repressed trauma. But basically, when I hear a phone, I get nervous. It's my darkest secret. I have two theories on it. Either I have a fear of receiving some undefined, ominous, life-threatening or life-altering doom call, or I was beaten with a phone in the past. Beaten so badly, I can't remember it. Beaten in the head. Well, where else would I get beaten with a phone that'd make me unable to remember it? The ass? Unexpectedly logical. I feel very depressed now. Sensing this conversation is more or less over, Kenji opens his door and prepares to head inside. Yeah, I'm going to sleep, dude. Have a good one. Class is going to start in like 20 minutes. I already did something today. Too tired to go to school. Hey, you need some lip balm? I accidentally bought two because I thought the store had started selling individual AA batteries. Thanks, but no thanks. Whatever, man. He swiftly enters his lair, finally letting me go to class. For a change, I'm not among the first ones to the morning class. Instead, almost everyone else seems to be here already. I recognize most of my class by their faces now, though the names escape me still. The class goes on lazily. I think I'm starting to get into the rhythm of school. Is this something I can skip? No? Okay, good. Whoop. I've even stopped worrying about taking notes and being overly attentive. The first days, I was pretty high-strung in class. Muto finishes his lecture about electricity early, but continues without a pause about the festival. So, as you know, the festival is on the day after tomorrow. I hope everyone's projects are going to be successful this year. Have a good time, but also come Sunday, please keep the meaning of this festival in your minds. Games and fried food! Everyone bursts out in laughter, and so do I. Yes, thank you, Mikado. What I meant was more the... The remainder of his sentence is buried beneath the ring of the lunch bells, and everyone starts packing their things. Muto deliberates for a moment, but since almost nobody seems to pay attention anymore, he just gives up and sits down. It's crowded in the hallway, or as crowded as hallways in this school possibly get. Most of the students seem to be heading down for the cafeteria. Isao! I'm gonna make you a one-time only super extra special lunch offer. Emmy's homemade lunch boxes and the privilege of enjoying them in private with 2 bombshell beauties. Her overly flirtatious sales pitch echoes in the hallway, a remarkable feat since it's full of people. Emmy strikes a very confident-looking pose, as though in an attempt to one-up her own ridiculousness, puffing out her very modest chest and making the V for victory sign with her hand. Sounds delicious. To what do I owe the honor of being invited? You stood there looking really lost and sad, so I thought you could use some company. That is probably the most depressing reason imaginable. Ugh. So how about it? You're probably really lonely and would eat that awful cafeteria food all alone otherwise. I'm kidding. Sure, I'll have your lunch offer. With pleasure. Let's go to the roof. The roof? Why the roof? Because that's where we eat lunch. And if I don't get up there, she'll probably just wander off, and then I just know she'll go hungry because she never packs a lunch for herself. Who will? Come with me. Without answering my question or waiting for a response, she grabs me by the arm and drags me through the hallways. I attempt to make conversation on the way. Why do you have extra lunch? Emmy smiles guiltily. Actually, it's yesterday's lunch. I slipped in a run at lunch and forgot to eat it. Huh. The stairway to the roof is a little dilapidated, but it's clearly been used recently. At the top of the stairs is a door, complete with missing padlock. I wonder who the intrepid individual was that removed the lock. And he shoves the door open and steps beaming into the sunlight. Suddenly, a tall, dark stranger appears out of nowhere, standing imposingly in front of us. Emmy flinches back, almost falling down the stairs. Eek! Hello. Yipes, you scared me, Rin. Wait, isn't she... Hello. Noticing that Rin is speaking to me, Emmy looks curiously at me. You two know each other? I look confusedly at Emmy. She's that friend of yours? Rin has turned her gaze towards the clouds drifting above the school. I didn't know you knew this person, Emmy. The awkward silence only lasts for a few seconds until Emmy lets out a tiny giggle, shrugging the coincidence off. I invited Heath out for lunch. If you know him, that's just better. Oh, does this mean I don't get food? Or did you invite him for lunch without the lunch? Neither. I have food for 3. Nice thinking. They walk to the other end of the roof while I stay at the clock tower for a while, taking in the atmosphere. There's nobody else but us here. I guess the roof is not as popular as it is in other schools. A few run-down benches and tables are scattered around the edges, perhaps in an attempt to make the rooftop look less desolate. The small pebbles covering the roof rattle beneath our feet. I peek through the chain-link fence to take a look at the school grounds and beyond. Students are strolling in pairs and groups around the quadrangle in the cafeteria. A few delivery trucks are driving past the school towards the convenience store nearby. Somewhere, a watchdog barks at a passerby. Somehow, when I look toward the town center, the small town feel strikes me very strongly, almost palpably. The hectic lifestyle of big metropolises seems so far away and foreign here. Nobody has to run to catch a bus like their life depended on it, or get their senses overloaded by the neon lights and traffic jams. I feel surprisingly optimistic about this new life of mine, looking at my new hometown, even if it's going to be mine for only one short year. Finding out about my illness and having to move away from home all came so suddenly. I haven't had time to think how I feel about it. When I step out of the shadow of the clock tower to the open, I feel warmth touching my back. The sun shines from a perfectly clear cerulean sky. Then why are there clouds in the background picture? A cool breeze sweeping over the rooftop makes me shiver, but only briefly. The wind carries the scent of trees and flowers, not smog and car exhaust like it used to just a few weeks ago. Emmy settles on a bench with Rin in tow and produces one big and two small lunchboxes from her bag. Come on, Hisa, what are you waiting for? She's beckoning me to join them, making room on the already small bench. Whoops. I seat myself on the corner of the bench to take as little space as possible. It's pretty cramped, but somehow all three of us fit on it. Impressive view. Amy suppresses a giggle and places a lunchbox in front of Rin and hands the other lunchbox to me. Here you go. Lunch as promised. Homemade, no less. I'm impressed. Wow, this looks really good. Thanks. I'll make it myself when I can. Conversation dies off as I set about the business of feeding myself. Taking a few bites, I glance up and notice Rin deftly opening the lunchbox and popping a forkful of food into her mouth, using only her feet. Even though I've seen it before, I can't help but be impressed by her dexterity. It's also a reminder of the sort of place I'm in right now. Will I ever get used to sights like this? I can't decide if getting used to such a thing would be a good thing or a bad thing either. Does getting used to this place mean that I'm giving up on being a normal person? Or does it just mean that I'm becoming more understanding about those around me? I'm distracted from my thoughts by the sight of Emmy tearing into her lunch as if it had insulted her ancestors. You seem pretty hungry. Emmy looks up, mouth half full, and swallows before nodding. My morning run always works up an appetite. Which is great, because then I burn through lunch pretty quickly. Helps me keep my girlish figure. What would happen if you'd lose it? Would you become a man? I very nearly choke on my lunch trying not to laugh. It's a figure of speech. Does your figure have to run in the mornings too? Do you always talk like this? Like what? Talk like what? Or I said that backwards. I think that answers my question. Never mind. So, I struggle to think of the small talk and settle on the obvious question. How did you two meet? Rin seems content to let Emmy answer this question. Someone in the housing department thought that we'd complement each other well, so we were assigned rooms next to one another. Complement each other? Like shoes in a suit. Huh? Emmy giggles at my confusion. Put us together and we've got all our limbs, get it? Ah. So I started helping Rin get ready in the mornings, and that was that. I mean, you can't help someone get dressed every morning and not get along. I see. Rin chooses this moment to interject. I have trouble with shirts. Right. That seems fairly obvious. Really? Kind of? This isn't helping, but at least Emmy seems to find the whole thing funny. That, combined with the fact that Rin is genuinely curious, makes me feel slightly better and yet confused. I mean, you've got no arms. So, putting on a shirt seems like one of those things that would be difficult. You know what? I'm just gonna stop talking now. It'll save me a lot of trouble in the long run. Rin nods in what I suppose is meant to be a sage manner. I see. The conversation dies as I turn my attention back to lunch. It really is quite good. Amy finishes her lunch first and makes a contented noise. Ah, that was good. As she busies herself with cleaning up her lunch, Rin speaks up. I'm thirsty. Oh, I almost forgot about that. Sorry. With a flourish, she reaches into her bag and removes a trio of juice boxes. She tosses me one that appears to be cranberry juice, one to Rin that appears to be some kind of strawberry milk complete with Pink's color scheme, and keeps an equally pink box of some kind of fruit punch for herself. Rin dexterously stabs her straw through the top of her box and begins to drink. Once again, I'm impressed by how flexible she is, but this time I keep my comment to myself. Somehow I don't think that Emmy or Rin are the sorts of people to think twice about the way they work around their particular disabilities. Rin especially so. Indeed, she gives off the impression of being entirely unaware that she's missing any limbs at all. Whether or not that's a conscious decision is another matter. I'm honestly not sure. So Hisa, how do you like it up here? It's quite nice, actually. I like high places for the view. Thanks for inviting me up here. And for the lunch, too. Amy grins a 1,000-watt grin, pleased by my response, I suppose. No problem. Feel free to eat with us next time, too, okay? I won't make you a lunch, but you can bring your own up here. No lunch service? I don't know. Amy looks mock offended. Trying to take advantage of my good nature? The nerve. She giggles. Well, if that's your answer, I guess Rin and I will just keep eating lunch all alone. I'm suddenly assaulted by the most heart-rending puppy dog eyes I've ever seen as Emmy pouts. Kidding! I was kidding! I'd love to eat lunch up here again. Good location and the company's okay too. Emmy frowns a bit at my declaration of okay, but seems happy enough that I've accepted her invitation. I guess this makes us friends now. Or at least acquaintances. Gah! The lunch bell rings and signaling a return downstairs. Rin, you didn't finish your lunch again. I wasn't that hungry. If you don't eat more, you're going to fade away. Rin shrugs as if this is an acceptable risk. Come on, we better get going. And the three of us head down the stairs together. The afternoon class passes. Once again, I find myself without a plan for something to do after school, so I head to the library to return a couple of the books I finished reading. Walking inside, I can see that there are about as many students here as there were on Tuesday, all the more evident from the almost total silence enveloping the room. Yeah! As I drop the books I borrowed into the return slot on the counter, Yuko suddenly pops up from behind it, quite startled from the banging they make as they hit the trolley next to her. Ah, sorry, Yuko, I didn't mean to startle you. No, that's fine. It happens a lot. I'm used to it by now. Can I help you? It's okay. I think I know where everything is. Thanks anyway. I suppose I'll grab another book or two while I'm in here. There's not much else to do, and after reading so much during my stay in the hospital, it's become a hard habit to break. I wander down to the fiction section towards the back of the library, scanning the bookshelves for anything that catches my eye. As I do, I look over to the corner where Hanako had been the last time I was here, not really expecting anything to come of it. But there she is, absorbed completely in a fairly thick book. I decide against intruding on her like last time and get back to finding reading material. After an indiscernible amount of time spent perusing the aisles, I finally decide on a couple of books and get and slide them off the shelf. With a minimum of fuss, I quickly walk over to the counter, check out my books, and pop them into my bag as I walk out. By the time I leave the main building, sunset isn't too far away. A small trickle of students remain, but the majority have left, presumably to their homes and dorms. I guess I need to buy some supplies. I can't live off cafeteria food and eating out for my entire stay here. As I leave for the gate, I make a few loud stretches to try and stave off the tiredness that has accumulated over the week. After passing through and rounding the corner, though, I see a solitary figure walking downhill towards the small town below. The color of her hair and tapping of her cane are unmistakable. I quickly walk up to her, which seems to catch her attention without a word needing to be said. Hi, Lily. She takes a moment to place the voice, slightly adjusting her face to a bit more towards the source of my voice as she does. Hisao? Yep, that's me. She seems to have a good memory for voices. The fact that she actually remembered is a pleasant surprise. Good evening. What brings you here? Once again, she gives a small polite bow, and once again I reply in kind before really realizing I don't need to. Just going into town. You? My, what a coincidence. Doing the same thing, eh? I usually go shopping on Fridays. She pauses for a moment, suddenly looking a little lost. That said, Hanako usually comes into town with me. Ah, not lost but worried. The two seem to keep a pretty close tabs on one another. It's kind of surprising that Hanako would just forget Lily like that. I noticed her reading in the library. She probably just got caught up in a book. She lets out a small sigh of relief. Thank you. She has a habit of doing that. Avid reader? Right. She doesn't like being around crowds of people, so reading away from everyone lets her relax a bit. Although she probably didn't intend it, I can't help but grimace as I recall my first meeting with her. Hardly wanting to bring it up, I remain silent as we continue to walk down the quiet road. Tack, 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 tack. With the road bereft of cars and the students of Yamako increasingly far behind us, the quiet rustling of the leaves and measured tapping of Lily's cane against the sidewalk are all that can be heard. It's kind of nice, especially compared to the hustle and bustle of where I used to live. Before I know it, I've relaxed so much that a loud yawn escapes before I can control it. Tired? Yeah, I've been running ragged these past few days. That's an understatement, to be sure. Transferring into a different school would be bad enough, but nothing like this. Well, hopefully everything should settle down for you. The festival's got everyone in a spin right now, and you've been plopped right in the middle of things. For a moment I hesitate, but given her apparent tolerance for frankness, I decide to give my full thoughts. I guess. Yamaku's kind of different, though. I mean, the formality surrounding everything, the isolation of it. Not to mention the most obvious difference. It's kind of a whole different mindset. I suppose I'll get used to it, though, in time. She gives a matter-of-fact nod, apparently pleased with my answer. It feels almost as if she's included me in the flock of students she's shepherding, along with Class 3-2 and Hanako. Well, not that I mind. It's nice to get the thoughts off my chest in any case. Looking on the bright side, one could see it as a chance for a new beginning. You should cherish the ability to make new friends. That's optimistic. Nonetheless, it's good to have a positive attitude about such things, I suppose. I guess that's a good take on it. Walking down the road, she seems to become somewhat unsettled. Before I can ask what's on her mind, she seems to collect herself and speaks up about something else. So, where in town were you going? That's actually a pretty good question. I'd come into town to buy food, but the layout of the place is still totally foreign to me. I had intended to just wander around and see what I could find, but with sunset already approaching and nightfall not too far away, that doesn't seem very wise. I'm going to have to ask her for directions. Again. I was just going to get some food, but now that you mention it, I don't really know the way. Well now, that is quite lucky. I was just about to go to the convenience store myself. It looks like I'll be in your care again then, thanks. And together we walked to the store, my pace carefully slowed to remain beside her. Compared to my usual walking pace, hers is quite a bit slower. Not that it's without reason. After what couldn't be more than several minutes, I catch sight of our objective. This town really is pretty small. Without further ado, we make our way inside with a greeting from the counter. Mind if I tag along with you? Usually Hanako would help me, but seeing as she's not here... It takes a moment before I realize what she means. Considering she wouldn't be able to read any of the labels, shopping without any help would be a big pain for her. That said, I can't shake the feeling that she's had this idea since I was coming here. Sure, it'd be my pleasure. I grab 2 well-used red baskets from a small stack beside the entrance, handing one to Lily. She lays it on the ground, putting her school bag in it, retracting her cane and sliding it through the basket's handles before picking it back up in her right hand. Wait, if she doesn't use her cane. Before I can complete the thought, she comes beside me and pinches the cuff of my uniform in her slender fingers. Is this all right? Sure. I have no reason not to accept. I can think of worse things than shopping with a pretty girl holding onto me, even if it is out of necessity. We navigate our way through the store, with not one of the occasional passing customers seeming to bat an eyelid. Considering how close Yamaku is, I guess seeing students from there must be entirely normal for the local residents. As we reach the aisle, I quickly check with Lily and find out what she needs. I grab it along with what I'm looking for and put our items into their respective baskets. I guess this is the same routine she and Hanako follow every Friday. Right. All that's left is the bread, and that should be my shopping done. Do you need anything else, Lily? No, this should be everything. Off we go then. With a quick side trip to the bakery section, we make our way to the registers. The line, thankfully, is almost non-existent. It's not long before we both paid for our food and are out the door. As Lily retrieves her cane and extends it to its full length, I waste a minute looking upwards at the night sky while holding both our bags. For a moment, I try to make clouds with my breath, but the summer heat doesn't seem to cooperate. Eventually, she rights herself, taking a quick stretch before taking her bag and leaving me to my two. You tired as well? The festival preparations have been complete chaos. Shizune breathing down my neck doesn't exactly help things either. Hey, she's only trying to get things organized, or everything organized. It's better now than later, right? I suppose. I'm going to enjoy relaxing in town tomorrow, that's for certain. I guess the festival prep must be taking a toll on both of them. We walk out into the quiet street, talking between ourselves as we carry our bags of food and supplies from the store. Wait, what's that? I notice a very distinctive figure making its way towards us, silhouetted by the street lamps. For a second, I think it's another male student from my class, but as he, or should I say she, gets closer, I recognize her quickly. Rin? What are you doing out here so late? Rin? Lily perks her head, looking like she's trying to focus on listening more keenly. It suddenly comes to me that I should probably interpret the scene for her. It's Rin Shizuka, I think was her last name, from our school. She stiffens at the name and gives a complicated-looking expression, something like a forced fusion of a composed smile and a painful cringe. Ah, I understand. I guess Lily knows Rin, too. Rin turns to look at us, looking terribly out of it. I'm not entirely sure if she recognizes either of us, or at least she doesn't acknowledge if she does. She looks like a zombie. Or a statue. A statue of a zombie. But slowly, some symptoms of understanding seem to lighten her dark eyes. This is something she must react to. Rin blinks once, very thoroughly. Hello. There's an awkward pause, everyone waiting for someone else to say something. What are you doing here this late? I was wondering about that myself, too. Just now. Some people asked that just before. I assumed they were wondering the same. I didn't know. They didn't know either. I asked. That's why I'm wondering. So that was pretty much it. It's a murder mystery without a murder. Dot, motherfucking dot. They were going that way. She turns facing to her right in order to demonstrate the direction the other people went to, as if that was important, and then rotates back like a mechanical puppet from one of those overly complicated clockworks. For a person who gives an impression of being the quiet type, Rin really does use a lot of words to say things that don't need a lot to be said. Unsure if she's finished, I say nothing. Neither does Lily, who seems equally robbed of words for the time being. I think both of us are in fact scared that any response might provoke her to continue. Our stupefied lack of reaction doesn't faze Rin at all. She keeps looking at us expectantly, a calm hint of expression on her blank face. She seems to be that kind of person, always so relaxed. As if bull elephant grade sedatives were flowing through her veins in place of blood. Do you have amnesia? I don't recall you having anything of the sort, though. No, I don't think it's that. The other passerby were probably just worried, though. You do look really lost, the way you're standing in the middle of the street. Oh, I see. Maybe I should have taken some other kind of pose in that case. I ponder for a while whether I should chase this angle further or give up for the sake of my own sanity. I decide on the latter. It seems that most of the time it's better not to read too deeply into what Rin is babbling about. Talking with Rin is like playing chess with a supercomputer who does seemingly completely random moves, as if to mock everything you know about chess. It's like that, except with human interaction. And even if I win, it feels like losing. Damn, it's just like Kenji said. Even when I win, I lose. Is this the power of the girls of Yamaku? I push the thought aside, as it's too dangerous to consider any further. It's probably just Kenji's anti-female propaganda getting to me in a moment of weakness. Yeah, maybe taking another pose might have worked. So anyway, you have no idea what you're doing here? She frowns, looking extremely displeased at either my question, its consequences, or the answer she's about to give. I do have some idea. I can't really tell what kind of an idea. That sounds like progress, at least. Lily sounds as if she spotted an opening for some kind of discernibly normal conversation. I can't say I share her optimism. Yes, there is some. Definitely. The rest will come later. I'm sure of it. I always have reasons. The ensuing silence kills Lily's hopes all too visibly. That didn't last long. Rin's, as far as I can tell, unbased assurances aside, what should be done? We could just leave her to her own devices, whatever those are, but it's late and I don't think we'll be getting any thanks if Rin is found standing here in the middle of the night. Which she probably will, unless she manages to remember what she was doing here in the first place. As for me trying to guess what might have been going on in her mind when she decided to embark on this adventure, the chances seem to be on par with winning the lottery. Several times in a row. I'm being struck by lightning. Lily is oddly quiet too. I'd appreciate some support from the sidelines here, especially if she's more familiar with Rin than I am. But it can't be helped. It seems her familiarity with Rin is exactly why she's staying subdued. So I assume you're going somewhere, not coming back to the school. Any idea where? Her eyes widen in shock as she jolts back in a somewhat artificial way, making it seem like an act rehearsed for situations like this. Are you a mind reader? Is that your disability? How unique! No, what? Why would you think that? You knew what I was doing. I like that face on her. It was an educated guess. We walked this same street in the other direction just before, to get to the store. If you were going to the school, we would have met you on the way. Oh. She looks a little disappointed. Like Kenji, Rin appears quick to jump to completely irrational conclusions. Maybe it's something in the water here. I'll make a mental note to stock up on soft drinks. You know, that's the second time this week if someone asked if I was a mind reader. Do I really give off that impression? Rin shrugs her shoulders, which is all the answer I get. You know, maybe you should come with us back to the school? Lily interjects just as I'm about to further debunk my alleged mind-reading capabilities. She sounds rather concerned, a paper-thin smile on her face badly disguising that fact. Maybe she came to the same conclusion as I did. For everyone's sake, I decided to let the mind-reading topic drop, and it's entirely inane anyway. Yeah, Lily's right. If you can't remember, there's no point in staying here. Rin considers this rather simple deduction for a moment, then nods. Okay. Finally. We start towards the school again, having wasted way more time than necessary with this episode. Rin walks along the edge of the sidewalk in her arrhythmic way, looking like a mix of a sleepwalker and a rope dancer, while Lily keeps one hand on my shoulder, tapping at the ground with her cane. Tap, step, tap, or tap, step, step, tap, tap, step, step, step. Apart from that and a few fragmented beginnings of conversation, it's quiet. A quiet quite apart from the relaxing one in town at that. So how's the mural going? We're gonna get bad luck. Never talk about works in progress. I'm sure it'll be wonderful. Bad luck. Tap, step, tap, step. She doesn't care to talk about it. Lily's politeness feels out of place for the first time. Step, step, step. The hill Yamaku rests on top of is surprisingly steep going uphill. We slow the pace, but I still feel my pulse rising and breathing getting heavier. Almost there. I can see the gates already. More than that, though, I notice that Lily's hand slightly tightens on my shoulder, interpreting it as a gesture she wants to ask something. I speak up. Anything wrong, Lily? I resist the urge to say aside from our traveling companion, but only just. For a moment, she seems to debate whether she should even bring it up, but goes for it anyway. Is everything alright? Alright? How do you mean? The fact that I can't interpret her incredibly vague question puts her off for a second. It's just, you seem unusually tired, I guess. Now that she brings it up, I notice that my breathing is strangely heavy. The uphill walk has really done a job on me. Lily noticed it all too quickly. Okay, decision gate time. Yeah, we're going to be going for some length on this episode too, folks, because I want to really get into it before I call it another video. Now, if you don't tell them, that leads to the bad ending. And I mean the bad ending. So, gotta be honest. It's alright. I just need to catch my breath. My condition isn't the best these days. Oh. Is it something that is related to you being transferred here? I mean... She cuts herself off rather abruptly, maybe realizing it was a bit intrusive. Her instincts are sharp, though, and while I don't like the subject, it's not like I should lie about it. If it's Lily, I don't think I mind. I'm just a little weak for the time being. Hanako said you look fairly healthy, so naturally I thought... Lily doesn't finish the sentence again, letting it trail off with a measure of concern. As she furrows her brow, Lily's uncomfortable expression spurs me to say at least something to ease her feelings. It's surprising that she's this flustered, considering her straightforward attitude with her own blindness. She must know that not all share her own comfort about such things. No, it's okay. I have a pretty... I guess the best way to put it would be messed up heart. Arrhythmia. I had a bad heart attack a while ago because of it. Spent most of the spring in a hospital. Ended up in Yamaku on doctor's orders. She silently nods her head in acknowledgement. My answer, though, only seems to make Lily furrow her brow even further. She doesn't seem to quite know how to react, given we don't really know each other that well. Can't really fault her for it, given I had the exact same reaction. While I do want to assuage her concern, I don't really want to dwell on this either. Don't worry about it. I try to offer a reassuring smile, and then I realize the futility. Without knowing this, Lily smiles at me reassuringly, but doesn't say anything further. Arriving at the dorm, Rin stops in front of her mural as if lightning struck her. She'd been so quiet for almost all the walk back that I'd all but forgotten she was here. It's Friday, isn't it? Yes, Friday, the 8th of June. That's like one of the only dates that we ever get for this game, too. The 8th of June. This is bad. Bad? Why? I think I'm gonna go into a fetal position and throw up. Possibly in reverse order. Is something wrong? No. Nothing is wrong. It's Friday and nothing is wrong yet. This mural, it's gonna need to be finished by Sunday. So everything's alright. Do you have any drugs? Or a time machine? This is not good. Not good. So she's behind schedule. Recalling Shizune's exasperation at Rin's carefree attitude several days ago, I don't know what to think. She's left herself open to a told you so unless she can pull off whatever she needs to pull off by Sunday morning. Rin keeps staring at her mural, looking as mortified as she can. Leave me. I'm gonna need to work for a while. I glance at Lily, expecting her to share an incredulous look with me as I roll my eyes. But then I realize she's not one to do that kind of thing. Leave me. We do, of course, not wanting to aggravate her any more than she already is. There's a churning bad feeling in my gut. Rin sure has a knack of making people feel worried about her. She seems like a person who should never be left alone. Maybe we should call someone? She sounded like she was going into shock or something. I'm sure she'll be just fine. She's just, how to say... Lily cocks her head a little, trying to find a polite way of calling Rin crazy without calling her crazy. Unique? Yes, a very unique person. I guess you could say that. She giggles at the notion melodiously, nodding in agreement. Sorry about leaving you stranded as you talk to her. I don't really understand her, so I keep my distance. So my guess was right. Lily offers a slight, apologetic smile, as if she was sorry that her own shortcomings had prevented her from becoming closer to Rin. I'm not one to blame her. At all. Lily lets slip a long breath, probably disguised as a yawn. I imagine she's as exhausted by all this as I am. I'd better leave now and give these to Hanako. Thank you for the company, Hisao. She smiles very sweetly at me. It feels different than normal, despite the fact that she seems to be smiling so often. I can't put my finger on what the difference is. It's just different. Relaxed, I'd say, but that's probably just relief of getting rid of Rin. Maybe. Yeah, good night. Say hi to Hanako for me. I will. Good night. Whew. That was a trip and a half, wasn't it, folks? And we're back in class. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and call that a video, because we're past the 40-minute mark, and that's a pretty good length. We're approaching the end of Act 1, and pretty soon we'll have our final decision gate before we're locked into Rin's path. So, stay tuned later on for Let's Play Katawa Shoujo, Rin's Path Part 3, when we get to go to the festival. Again. This time with Rin. Hey boy. As for me, I'm your host, NeoMegaMan, signing out. End of line.